how they go as we progress. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, we do have Orange Juices back on the scene going up against SucreoSucre. So this is a French team in the top four of EU as well in the ladder, and Orange Juices, of course, in there, as you would know, the best is the NAIC current champs.
Yeah, Orange Juicers had a great showing at NAIC. They had a close match against Nemesis in the grand finals, but they were able to take that their way. They had a tough start today against Paragon, who Paragon actually advanced in the lower bracket, beating out Yala Bingo as well. So
Wow,
Paragon, one of
yeah.
the grassroots tournament teams, coming to that open ladder, really showing that they're here to make their mark as well. As yeah, we do have the draft getting started between Orange Juicers and SucreoSucre here. Pretty standard stuff. Umbreon getting picked away, Trevenant and Blaziken. Interesting to note, Garchomp being banned out. I guess maybe a call out to
Yes.
Machisel as
Yeah.
he was dominating with that earlier.
Yeah, we've seen quite a few Garchomps in this off season right now, and it's been, you know what, amazing to see. And like you said earlier, Orange Juices did have a bit of a shaky start against Paragon, but I think we saw when they were doing a little bit unorthodox with the Zoroark and Comfey, as we don't see them play that combo much. But I think this is a great time for Orange Juices just kind of want to mess around and see what type of composition they want to play and just kind of how they're going to fare into coming into Worlds in August.
Yeah, that's right. It's a good chance for them to try things out, and excited to see them even continue to experiment going into this series, where we have Flareon's picking up the Delphox, a Chisel on that Gyarados, two solid Pokemon that we might not see them
Ooh.
pick all too often, and
Yeah.
now we might see a Lapras
Yeah,
pick.
I'm waiting. Just
Zagreg,
it's actually locked in. Okay.
yeah, Zagreg last year was one of the main believers of Lapras when it was considered to be one of the strongest Pokemon initially. A lot of teams didn't have faith in it. It's been nerfed a lot since then, but he used it to not only win NAIC last year, me and him won that one together, but this year as well, he brought it back. So he's a big fan of this Pokemon, and it definitely puts in the work. I imagine we're going to see a swap there as Roland's going to be playing more of a supporter Umbreon, a bit of a
Yeah.
different role for that Pokemon, but definitely can work with that wish.
Yeah, and looking at Orange Juices now, they've got a bit of a task ahead of them. They do, Sucre do have a lot of secure potential with their composition right now. And but I would say though, in a team fighting situation, I think OJ do have that advantage. They've got the protection, they've got the Lapras, and you know what? You're right. Lapras has been nerfed so much, but its kit is still extremely strong, and I'd love to see what Zagrog's going to be able to do here.
Yeah, I know we didn't get to see it on our broadcast here, but these drafts remind me a lot of the previous game that Nemesis just had into Rework Respawn, where one team has the Phalanx Blaziken and the other side's got a double Mage comp. Last time in the previous game it was A9 Candle. This game we've got Delphox Gardevoir, but this is more reminiscent of Pokemon Unite in 2023, where teams were
Mm.
reliant more on the range characters. A lot of this meta is shaping up to be an all-rounder meta, which Sucre is using this game, Nemesis used last game. In the last set, Nemesis weren't able to be successful with it, so we'll see if Sucre are able to give Phalanx and Blaziken a better shot here.
Yeah, and we already see a little bit of the comp right now. At the top side, we had the Magikarp and the EV for Umbreon going to be going up against the Phalanx. Bottom lane, you do have the Phantom and the Bulbasaur, really being able to take that farm away from OJ right now. Bulbasaur able to narrowly escape there. Lapras, would you say is kind of an advantage here? Would the Flail actually hit all of the members of the Phalanx, the minions that it has with him as well to help build that gauge to become a Gyarados there?
I was actually wondering that mechanic yesterday, and I do think that you get some extra charge from the little Phalanx, but
Mm.
those little guys are considered, like, for a lot of mechanics, they're considered to be wild Pokemon,
Ah.
which interact a little bit differently for your effort gauge. So while you do get some good charge, it might not be the same as hitting an enemy Pokemon. I think teams are probably still figuring that
Ooh.
out as we see both of these teams send their central area Pokemon
Oh
topside.
no.
Magikarp goes
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, great engage there from Sucre, just taking most of the farm. Magikarp trying to go in for a flail, but gets knocked out though. But we can see Roland in a little bit of trouble, manages to stay away from harm there, just trying to hold that tier 1 pad. And right now, in terms of favor and experience gain, Sucre is in the lead there. Magikarp, although almost getting to the Gyarados there, and we know that once he comes online, he's going to be able to bring that power spike in favor of OJ. But right now, Phalanx is doing what he can to deny Magikarp from evolving.
Yeah, and early game can be tough. The benchmark that I like to give Gyarados players is if you can get evolved by the central area Altaria at this 8-minute mark, you're in a good
Yes.
spot. Anything later is can be a little troublesome. So this game, Orange Juicer is a little bit behind the mark. I know he's very, very close to building up that effort gauge, but if you have it in time for that central Altaria and you can contest those, it's a big experience swing that can go your way as they are able to defend this top cap, and finally we see that Gyarados online.
Yes, he'll be able to hold that for a bit of a battle there. Umbreon managed to get rid of the Blaziken there, which is huge for OJ. They are moving through. Roland just narrowly escapes again. Luckily, Oni is not yet a Venusaur. Trevenant does get hung over by that Fire Spin, but now you can see that Sucre going in. Venusaur now online. Currently a 4 versus 4 as Blaziken has now rejoined the battle and is about to hit his level 8 spike.
Yeah, this bottom Reggie fight is going to be interesting. One thing we didn't call out is this Venusaur with the new and improved Sludge Bomb. This move
Yes.
received a lot of buffs in the last balance patches. You see, Flareon's gets caught by it. The slow duration was doubled in duration. So now,
Yeah.
even if you get caught just for a second in that Sludge Bomb, it'll linger for a whole 2 seconds, which is more than enough to set up an
The
overheat or
Reggie
a solar
almost down
beam.
there. Great
And
secure
yeah.
from both of those two right there. And yes, Sludge Bomb has had a significant buff, making it much more viable now, I would say, than the the Giga Drain that it had before. And you can see Oni is now got his Unite ready to rock and roll. I would say OJ is going to have to be really careful here since Venusaur is ready to pounce as they are moving towards the Reggie Alecki. And as we can see here, it's currently 4 versus 2, Ender.
Yeah, this Regieleki is a little bit tougher for Orange Team to respond to as they're a little slower to get here. They have enough damage that they might be able to hold on as
Oh,
you see
a
a
little bit of
big Verdant
beam.
Anger from that Venusaur. Flareon's drop set Fancy Fireworks to try to hold, but Orange Juicers are struggling to keep up. They've got 3 members here though, Nuggy, and I think they
Yeah,
might be able to
it's
hold
it's
this.
gonna be, yes, great. You fanciful fireworks by the Delphox just to prevent Sucre from pushing in with that Reggie. They did manage to get rid of that Regieleki, but they do lose 2 members of their Pokemon down, and this is still in favor of Sucre. They're just being able to be aggressive early with their level lead as well, which is really, really good to see. Delphox is back in the top side, and Lapras Zugrog is just holding off the fort from the bottom lane against the Trevenant, but Oni is moving up and down relatively swiftly now. OJ trying to go through the central. Gyarados really pushing forward on the heavy attack here, using his Unite, going through, gets a hit of the Blaziken. Blaziken may go down here, which he doesn't yet so far, but Zog manages to fish him off. Phantom Forest goes through as well. You can see that OJ is pushing on the hard yards of the fight, keeping Sucre off guard. Trevenant trying to hold the fort there. Venusaur with a great Solar Beam against the Delphox. Zug with a 40 dunk. Gyarados with a 24. Another Solar Beam on top of Zug. Zug managing on 1 HP while Venu and Eldegoss goes down. You can see that Gardevoir trying to go in there with defensive support fire, but now Failings on top of Gardevoir going down. So this is a bit of a back and forth as we can see, Ender, and I would say it was a bit of an even trade.
Yeah, the trade started really well with Machisel as we see both these teams still fighting for that Regirock. Is the secure is there on the side of SucreoSucre, but these teams haven't let up yet. Orange Juicers do have the HP advantage here, but the numbers
Oh,
favor SucreoSucre. Verdant Anger goes out as well, and just bombs
oh
being
my
thrown out
gosh.
from both sides here.
Yeah, Venus, Solomon getting rid of Unite, getting rid of the Delphox as well. Gyarados coming in, but gets caught by the Blazing, and there goes the overheat. Gyarados managed to bounce out of the way, though. You could see more offensive fire, just so much frontline damage from Sucre, preventing Orange Juices from getting in there. Gyarados, though, really trying to keep things at bay. No Unite moves may go down here, but they are trying to hold the line. You can see Umbreon trying to really keep a distance there. Failing's in a lot of trouble, may go down, and does, though, thanks to the Gyarados and the Delphox. And now you can see Lapras Express with the Gyarados bounce into the tier 1 pad. Trevenant trying to defend, but not able to. Gets Fire Spinned out of the way. Zug with a 13 score, leaving the pad a little bit lower. Trevenant being isolated there. Another bounce from Gyarados, while Venu is just solar beaming his defensive techniques away. Delphox Fanciful Fireworks on the tier 1 pad. You can see Lapras just really trying to hold the line, but gets knocked out by the Failings. And now Blaziken going through on the Umbreon. Umbreon in a little bit of trouble. Gardevoir still there in the support fire, and Sucre to right now they've been just constantly aggressive defensively and offensively against OJ right now.
Yeah, neither of these teams able to catch a break. Even Nuggy needs a little bit of a break here as these teams are just going blow for blow here. Zagreb doing a nice job trying to carry his team on his back, both, literally on that Lapras Express we saw Machislo go, but also figuratively picking up a lot of KOs that you wouldn't expect from a Lapras. So really nice to see. Phalanx was able to break that top pad. So finally, one of these pads to go down, as both of these teams have been fighting pretty much the whole game for some of this positioning here. Now, the bottom Reggie is something that a lot of teams have started to focus on. This top Reggie Alecki, it can help you develop a point lead, but the basement Reggie going into Rayquaza gives you a buff that ultimately helps you win the fight at Rayquaza, which is what Pokemon Unite is all about. So we're going to see if Orange Juicers can secure it just barely. They're going to be able to walk into this Ray fight with a Reggie Steel now, Nuggy.
Yeah, Reggie Steel buff is absolutely instrumental for any side as we move into the Ray Pit there. Now, all teams are going through. You can see Phalanx maybe go for a little bit of a distraction, does manage to jump away there. And you can see Gyarados going after the Phalanx. Lapras, though, Zagra getting a little bit of damage. Great overcap here from 120, which will signal the Orange Juices to really retaliate here. They are trying to find some space, but none given as of this time. Gyarados is fighting the Phalanx, manages to get rid of him. So this is a great advantage now. But Eldegoss somehow manages to get an 80 dunk, breaking the tier 1 pad from Orange Juices, and Ray is still untouched at this point in time.
Yeah, so that's a 200-point lead for a SucreoSucre, but Orange Juicers still have this Reggie Steel buff, and they have the player advantage here as Flareon gets caught out by that tree, able to get that eject off as the fight is breaking out.
Great beam as well. Venu getting rid of the Gyarados. Orange Juice is in a lot of trouble right now. Cotton Cloud Crash being used as well. You can see Flareon trying to hold the fort with what he has left. Zugrug trying to give him that defensive support capability. But look at the Eldegoss on the X speed running through. Lapras going down through. Eldegoss does a little bit of a spinneroonie there. And it looks like Orange Juice is in a heck of a lot of trouble. Gardevoir, though, still has its singularity ready to rock and roll. They have 40 seconds left to go, Inder. It looks a little bit bleak, but I believe they still have one last push in them.
Yeah, one great thing about Gardevoir is a Pokemon that excels at burning down Rayquaza. So as time is running out, the Orange Juicers are going to start to look at Rayquaza here and throw everything they've got on it. They're going to use that Fairy Singularity to try to assist in the secure. Machizel's got his Unite move as well. So there's that Fairy Singularity. Can they secure Rayquaza?
It's going to be what Fox gets it right there. So great secure, but with only 12 seconds left, you got to wonder if they can make it. Gardevoir gets a 200 dunker at the top. Gyarados may be able to get another one here. This will be an absolute close one. Not sure if it's enough, though. They might just fall short if it was over 200 points.
I think the Orange Juicers were behind by more than 200, and it might have come down to the difference that Phalanx can keep 60 points in their pocket as opposed to that normal 50.
Oh, the extra 20. Yeah, the extra 20. Yeah. Oh, 22. Okay. Woo.
Yeah, so it wasn't exactly based on that, but that Reggie Alecki walking plus the Phalanx cap made all the difference there in the end. And the Eldegoss getting that 80 break unsuspectingly on that tier 1 earlier as well. All of these
going up against Paragon in the lower bracket, and Paragon was the team that did give Orange Juicers a run for their money as they've known each other so well. But back to round 2 here, Orange Juicers going up against SucreoSucre. So again, another Garchomp ban. Just a respect to Machizel, Inder. He's just well known for a lot of the Pokemon that really wasn't thought of in a lot of meta tournaments to be involved here. And obviously, they're very afraid of Machizel's Garchomp.
Yeah, in a way, like you said, it can be a respect ban, but for a lot of these players, they might even interpret it as disrespectful. Like, hey, you think I can only play Garchomp and you are gonna waste one of your bans on that instead of a more traditional ban? So I think Machizel might take that a little personally, and he looked good on the Gyarados. We'll see if he's gonna change it
Yeah.
up this game and try out something else as that Umbreon gets taken away from the Orange Juicers, which Roland was doing a great job with last game.
Yeah, and we can see Kratos this time being able to take the Blaziken away from a Sucre, and we didn't talk enough about Venusaur, but I would say with the Sludge Bomb buffs and the Solar Beam, he was just constantly pumping that out, and it was very hard for OJ to really target that Venu, so he was just being able to whittle them down little by little there. So Oni back again on the Venusaur, why not? It didn't really disrupt him in game one, so we're going to see how OG is going to respond to this. Are they going to be able to reach the Venu? Because if we look right now, if that Metagross is locked in, that front line is absolutely solid.
Yeah, I really like the way Sucre approaches draft as we see as Zoroark pick. Like I was saying, Machizel might take things a little personally if he sees that Gyarados or that Garchomp ban. But fundamentally, Sucre's draft made a lot of sense last game. They had a lot of bulky all-rounders. Orange Juicers went the typical double mage kind of strategy to counter out some of those all-rounders, but they rounded out their comp with a long-range artillery sniper that can outrange that Gardevoir, outrange that Delphox as well that Flareon's picked up. So I like their draft in game number one. Game number two, I think this game is going to be up to Machizel. It's almost like you either live by Machizel or you die by Machizel. That's a lot of Zoroark gameplay in general.
Yeah.
Looks like a tough game. He's got four
Yes.
defender or four tanky Pokemon he has to get
Yeah.
through.
I mean,
but we'll see.
how does Zorak fare here? Because we know the speedsters are in a sense relatively weak to the defenders, and the fact that they have such a meaty team to protect Venusaur, I don't know how they're going to pull through this, but I think Flareon's will also be a key. I mean, with Mystical Fire, actually, it should be Hyper Voice at this stage, right? And just based on that front line being there, if he's able to keep his distance and put that charge away, it should do well, but I could be wrong.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Like, based on the front line that exists in this game, and even with the items that he's gone with those Wise Glasses, should be expecting him to play some Hyper Voice and provide some frontline damage. The thing about Zoroark is, yes, it does traditionally struggle into defenders. That mean look Umbreon can just lock it down. But
Yeah.
Zoroark has tools in its kit to be able to dodge it. Illusion can give you a momentary iframe that can completely fizzle out that mean look.
Yes.
And if you get far enough ahead of Zoroark, there's no real counter to it. As long as you stay alive and you have a strong momentum in the early game, nothing can really stop this Pokemon outside of maybe a Slowbro, which is banned away this
It was
game.
banned, yeah. So we're gonna have to wait and see. And you can see, Beldum is the central laner for SucreoSucre this time, so that's kind of cool to see. Chansey going in for a little bit of a sneaky invade. Will Roland be able to get it? Maybe, and it does manage to take that away. And this is huge. This is a great response for the start of round 2 for Orange Juices.
Yeah, Roland doing a good job recognizing that SucreoSucre, whatever they decide to send to the central area, is going to be weak outside of maybe the Phalanx. Saw that the Phalanx was top, so either there's a Bulbasaur in there or a Beldum, both of which a Chansey can defeat with a Pound. So he sneaks in there, gets that red buff, gets a stack on the top side as well. And that's what they need. They need some momentum in this early game for Machizel to be able to start snowballing.
Speaking of, Machizel is in position right there. I'm sure Sucre knows it as well as we wait for the Swablues and Alterias. There goes Orange Juices hitting it right now. Machizel going for the attack, getting a great KO. Torchic getting that away from Phalanx. And now, what a great Blaze Kick there as well, picking up another KO. Umbreon just really can't do anything with that amount of early firepower. And this is great to see OJ having that advantage.
Yeah, And OJ, funny enough, they have 3 stacking Pokemon on the top side, 2 attack weights, and a stacking specs. They're all able to get their stacks as that red buff almost goes to the side of Machizel as well.
Ooh.
But this early game scaling is going to be really important as Machizel continues to dominate in the enemy central area here, Nuggy.
Yeah, and love that Flareon tried to get that blue, but Trevenant saw that coming, managed to get that assist there. So Matang now trying to get online, but you're right. Right now, Machizel is doing everything in his available kit to give their team that lead before it gets a little bit more difficult later down the road. Machizel in a little bit of trouble right now, but great help by Zug there, really trying to give his ally a helping hand as we move forward here. Machizel does manage to get away. Hyper Voice being played there. Flareon's trying to give that assist. And I was going to say, Inder, like, how hard is this going to be for Zugrug? Because he's just one defender against just a full team of aggressive, a full team of meat. Can we say that? Just I don't know how he's going to be able to block all that, but we can see that at least Orange Juices has a lot of firepower behind them.
Yeah, the Hyper Voice is gonna provide the much needed spacing for Zugrug if he ever gets a heavy slam, even if it's on a frontliner. Hyper Voice is able to shred away those special defenses and do a lot of damage. So this duo partnership between Zugrug and Flareon's is going to be really important this match. If they can set up a lot of damage on the front line, as Zug's going to look for a heavy slam, no Hyper Voice to follow up. But we see Machizel on the back line coming in for a flank.
Going through, but gets mean look though, and he tries to use his Unite to try and stay alive, which he does manage to bounce away, and now doing the Reggie Rock. Meanwhile, Zug is just distracting the 4 versus 3 situation there, but a mean look on Flareon's gets it knocked down, so this will be a little bit detrimental. Solar Beam should be up in play too, does get there, but Zorak Machizel manages to secure the Reggie Rock in just a really disadvantaged situation there. Zug able to block, and I love the fact that he's pulling them away from the tier 1 pad, because all we can see right now is just Blissey defending on its own while Flareon's managing to come back in time. Now, while that is happening, Blaziken does manage to dunk a few points here and open that tier 2 space on the top path. So this was a great play by Orange Juices. Just a far cry from what happened in game 1, because they have such a monumental lead right now.
Yeah, that was really well done by Machizel. He saved the last part of his feint attack, that final jump, to get that last hit on the Reggie. And then Kratos was able to make his way on the top side as he does go down in the enemy central area here. Unfortunately, Zug trying to pick up the pieces, has a heavy slam over the wall, able to get away, and failing forced to retreat there. But yeah, a lot of very interesting mechanics coming into play here. In that 1v1 between Blaziken and Phalanx, Blaziken actually gets blaze stacks on each one of the Phalanx troopers, providing an enormous amount of healing. So that keeps him, very, very healthy in that 1v1. Likely what came into play to push that Regieleki in, as we just saw. Flareon's force uses Unite move. Couple Unite moves on the top side as well.
That was actually a massive play there for OJ, managing to burst 2 Unite moves, but this is in taking account to get rid of that tier 2 pad with a decent overcap. So this really opens up doors. I think Orange Juices is going to be relatively safe from here on, and while that's happening, as you said, the duo combination of Flareons and Zugrug trying to hold the line right now. You can see currently 3, man, now 4 versus 4. Sucre in a lot of trouble. Umbreon does use its Unite to try and stay afloat. Metagross getting rid of that Blissey, though Venusaur now in a lot of trouble, but manages to stay afloat thanks to the Phalanx and the Umbreon here. So they do lose a little bit that battle, but there was only, I believe, a 4 overcap there, so slightly off. And while that happened, Machizel did manage to get rid of the Regieleki to apply some pressure to SucreoSucre. So we're going to see how that plays out. A tier 1 for a Regieleki.
Yeah, normally this trade would be favored for SucreoSucre. You don't really care to get a Regieleki if you can just break a pad normally, as we see this bottom objective or bottom side fight going out as well. But what's important here is that Orange Juicers, as we do see Kratos is going to go down in this tree, engage here as well. Machizel, if he can get away, no, he's mean looked, and that's going to be the end of Machizel. Those are some unfortunate KOs. But what's important for the Orange Juicers, Nuggy, is that because they were able to take down this Regieleki at the 4:30-minute mark, the next Regieleki will spawn at an adequate time that the Orange Juicers can use to have this sort of pin checkmate situation
Yeah,
that they can use now that they've taken down this top 2 goal, which is all that they were really looking to accomplish by stalling out
yes.
that bottom tier 1.
Yeah, this is great observation there. Machisel going through. Venusaur does break its Unite move as well. Machisel in a bit of trouble. Does Illusion away. Nice dash from the Solar Beam as well. Oni now getting a little bit caught. His teammates isn't going to be able to help him from this one as Zugrug pushes him back in amazing slow-mo action here. But we can see that Blaziken gets rid of the Venu, but not without failings, getting rid of the Blaziken as well. And you can see, though, slowly but surely, Sucre is trying to get that dunks in, but Zugrug with a fantastic block in between. The Hornleech not getting anyone there, and Orange Juice is able to successfully defend their tier 1 pad as Regieleki, as you said, around the checkmate scene, is going to pop up in 10 seconds time.
Yeah, so wonderfully done by the Orange Juicers. We do see SucreoSucre trying to set up. They understand the urgency of this Regieleki here as well. They can force the Orange Juicers to fight now, that'd be good. If they can force them to take down this Regieleki now, which will give them some time to clear it, would also be good. But it's going to come down, and Flareon's able to get it with the Hyper Voice Tech through the Solar Beam,
Oh
and that's
no.
going to be troublesome for the European
Yes.
squad here.
And you can see Machisel going through on the offensive as well. Almost a team white. Only Trevenant remains. But right now, with the Regieleki and Ray coming up, this may be over for Sucre for game number 2. You can see they're ripping it really, really quickly right now. Trevenant, no Unite move in play. He's going to try and go for a sneaky steal, but I don't think it's going to be able to be done as Blissey, with that Bliss assist, secures that Ray. Wow. Regieleki is still going down to the central home pad. And this, overall, we talked about NA right now. This is something that we get to see. This is NAIC champs, guys. They have showed why they are such a dominant force. And I think just from game 2, they were practically flawless in this round.
Yeah, I think after game number 1, Machisel, sees his Garchomp, gets banned out. Gyarados, didn't look too bad on the Gyarados, but he did end up going down at that Ray fight without getting his Unite off. And I think this game he was ready to put on a much, much bigger of a show. So
Yeah.
nice to see him take that Zoroark, not even ask for a Comfey. He said, give me a Blissey, it doesn't matter. And he did well with it into a team that normally you might struggle into, that Umbreon with that mean look, Trevenant with all that displacement, and a whole bunch of other tanky Pokemon behind it.
Yeah, I think this just really highlights Machisel's mechanical gameplay as a Zoroark going up against all these meaty characters. We were worried about it, but you can see that they pulled this off really, really well. The offensive Pokemon that were there, like Blaziken, was able to make use of it. Flareon's and Zugrug, though, great defensive team. I mean, that is probably one of the duos that really stalled Sucre's offensive line when it was essentially 4 versus 2 half the time, in time for units like Blissey and Blaziken to come help, while Machisel was just offlane and doing the important objectives that needed to be done for, as you said, the checkmate situation. And they did that really, really well. So hats off to OJ for giving us a great comeback match. And we get to cast a game 3 between these two teams, which is amazing to see.
Yeah, for most of today's tournament, aside from just one series that happened earlier in the lower bracket between Yalabingo and Paragon, every time North America has faced off against Europe, Europe has won. Now we're in game number 3. Orange Juicers, they've got the burden to defend NA's honor on their back. As well as, just their own personal pride in being the NAIC champions. They definitely don't want to make a lower bracket run in a tournament where they're considered the favorites. So I think they're going to be playing with that in mind in game number 3 to try to close out this series.
Yeah, this is going to be a series definitely that you don't want to miss, guys. And just to remind everyone that next week the brackets will be completed on the 29th. That's when the finals will kick in. So make sure to tune in to watch through either Twitch or YouTube. YouTube to subscribe, Twitch to follow, guys, from INGAGE here, as we don't want to miss any more of these amazing teams that are playing and putting on the display of force for us in the off season, and just in a way great practice. What do they need to do? And does OJ need to change anything?
Yeah, I think game number 1, a big problem for the Orange Juicers was the draft. I think they kind of fell into a bit of a trap getting playing into that Venusaur while they had double mages that got outranged by it. Game number two, the adjustment was really good. That bringing that Zoroark to have some more backline access and apply more early game pressure was really, really important. I think Orange Juicers won't make that same draft mistake again. But with them selecting over the tree, they are going to lose over Blaziken this time to SucreoSucre, which has been a pretty pivotal piece as it's the only Pokemon to win both games here in game number one for Sucre and game
Yeah.
number two for the Orange Juicers.
Yeah. Would you say Blaziken right now, with the recent buff that it's had, is we're going to definitely see a lot more of it as a pivotal character for Worlds, since the cooldown reduction by 1 second is really, really nice for it.
Yeah, the cooldown reduction is a great, is a very monumental buff, and the healing actually was improved as well
Oh
on this
yes,
Pokemon.
yes.
So getting it some more staying power in these team fights. What's funny is we saw Japan actually use this Pokemon quite a bit in their nationals before the buff, and I think the North American team saw that and they started practicing it a little bit more. We didn't get to see as much of it at NAIC, but I think
Wow.
that teams might have just been a little bit behind on that meta call. Now that we
Yeah.
see, a lot of the international tournaments conclude, all of these teams are upping their Blaziken play. So yeah, we'll definitely see. This will probably be one of the Pokemon that ends up defining the world's meta, whether,
Yeah.
you're going to get the Blaziken or how you're going to play against it.
Now, we are seeing Machizel on the failings right now, and there are a couple of answers already to combat not just Machizel in particular, but just the Pokemon that he's using. Now, as we talked about Blaziken with the added buff to healing, Lucario, most likely with the E-Speed and whatnot, it's going to give Machizel a little bit more of its worse for wear. And Oni sticking with that Venusaur for all 3 games now. So it is the poke that they needed. Crustle being used for this one as well. So what do you think is going to happen here, Indo? How is OJ going to respond to this? Because if we look, I mean, Blissey, Roland has been, I would say, very pivotal as well. I mean, each of these guys has been just amazing watching how Orange Juices play here. How is Machizel going to combat against essentially the 3 Pokemon that counters it?
Yeah, it's looking a little rough. What's good here for Machizel is that I don't think this is going to be a Petal Dance Venusaur. I think Oni's going to stick to that Sludge Bomb Solar Beam.
Yeah.
So he's not going to have to deal with that. But like in game number 1, this Venusaur was able to outrange the Gardevoir from Orange Juicers. And I feel like that gave them a lot of trouble. And now they don't have something like that Zoroark to dive the backline. And like you said, there's a couple counters for Machizel on Phalanx. There's going to be this extreme speed, which, is a hit or a miss of a counter. Yes, he gets those resets off each individual trooper, but you are still playing Lucario with extreme speed. And one mistake, if Machizel is able to jump away from that E-speed, can leave that Lucario kind of out for wear there, and it can be very dangerous. So I think drafts look relatively even. I would give a slight edge to Sucre, but I think either one of these teams can take it, and it's going to come down to whoever has the better game.
Now, I'm thinking here, with Flareon's being the central laner, would he then opt for more of a Mystical Fire build, since it's not as meaty as before? And I would say Mystical Fire is relatively good against the Pokemon lineup that Sucre has chosen, or will he stick to the Hyper Voice?
I think Mystical Fire definitely looks like it would be good this game, but I believe it might just be another case of Hyper Voice. A little bit more comfort for Flareons, and he performs really well on it. He always has high damage numbers on this Pokemon with Hyper Voice. Given his item loadout as well, I think we're expecting more of a Hyper Voice this game. And he's just going to use that one red buff to come top and be really annoying. The rest of the central area, I think, will go to Kratos. He'll end up going cleaning that up right now, as with Zugrug, as both of them go back to that blue buff.
Yeah, doing really well here, just making sure that their buffs are well taken care of. Zagra getting that blue away as well. It does look like they are struggling a little bit on the bottom path against Sucre here with the Crustle and Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur about to evolve into Ivysaur, which he does. Zagrug managed to get that final Altaria in those, so a little bit of an even kill there from the bottom path. But as we move on to the top, that's where most of the action is going. We can see Machisel getting those stacks in, Roland helping him out. And even though Lucario is there, he's not level 5, so he doesn't have access to that extreme speed right now. So Machisel is doing well. Flareon's, though, in a little bit of trouble, but Combusken managed to get that with 1 HP remaining, and now Roland in a lot of trouble. Machisel waiting in line there, but 3 members there from Sucre going in managed to get rid of Blissey. Now Machisel in a lot of trouble with that mean look, as E-Speed is now active and online, had to eject away there that Curlier, and now we're going for a little bit of a reset as the central farm is up.
Yeah, both of these teams having a bit of a close fight. Orange Juicers not able to make away as Flareons did get KO'd at the start. But Machisel's continuing to apply a lot of pressure here. Does get stuck in this mean look, so
great.
it's going to be a bit of a trouble. But yeah, they get that KO still.
Yeah, good job, Flareons. I love the awareness that these guys have. Machisel trying to really initiate the fights here while Flareons try to do the pick off. Now Lucario is up there, manages to get away. Flareons a bit about half HP. Zugrug trying to defend the bottom part. You can see managed to get that secure on the Indeedee. Great moveset there from Kratos, just stalling out Sucre from pushing any further. But right now, Kratos really needs to try and find a way to become a Gardevoir. Still a while a ways off as we lose a lot of that central farm to Sucre. And but they do have the central buffs ready to go, so hopefully Kratos is able to evolve soon and get that much needed spike that he's there for. But moving on to the bottom lane, Regice has spawned, so not a big deal, but this is still going to be an advantage to whichever team takes it. And for right now, you can see Flareons is just stalling away while that Regice is going down, and it looks like an easy secure for Sucre.
Yeah, because of that EXP struggle on the side of Orange Juicers, they were forced to be able to give this up. But Kratos able to rotate top, did find his Gardevoir. They got this Regieleki, and they're going to get this to push in as well. So relatively even trade. This is going to be able to give them some good points. They got some much needed experience and some stacks. And Orange Juicers doing their best to try to stall things out here. But Zugrug already going down. Flareons gets a shield from the pad and able to stay alive. Nice beam from Oni to pick him off as he goes down as well. But Orange Juicers able to keep their pad alive, and this is really important with them being able to develop a point lead here.
Yeah, this is a good trade-off right now. You know, Blissey and Gardevoir will be able to get there in time to pick up what Flareon's left for them. Machisel going through on that Crossel. Crossel just getting crowd controlled by the Trevenant. There goes a Verdant Anger from Venu right now. Solar Beam as well, not able to KO anyone, but Blaziken managed to get rid of the Phalanx. Ejects onto Flareon as well. Flareon able to get away. You can see Orange Juices is just trying to keep that tier 1 pad alive, while Sucre has essentially, for most part of this game so far, has really been trying to target that bottom path, but unsuccessfully just breaking that pad down.
Yeah, these tier 1 goals, especially the bottom side, are really important for these mages. It gives them a additional layer of security when it comes to their Rayquaza fight. So both of these teams we're going to see, they're going to be trying to fight over it, as we do see the multiple extreme speeds on his Phalanx. But Phalanx is such a strong and tanky Pokemon. Even after taking 5 E-speeds to the face, he's pretty much full health.
Yeah, now good math there from Sucre, leaving the pad on 1, but are they going to be able to capitalize it as we reach the halfway mark? Now, mean look being put on, and now Gardevoir being targeted by the defenders. You can see the E-Speed going through, though. Lucario in a bit of a strife does get KO'd by the team of OJ, and now this is looking quite grim for Sucre. They tried to go hard at it, not able to do so, while Venu is solar beaming away. Blaziken trying to push back, but Zugrug, probably one of the worst characters you want to pull back, as he's able to Horn Leech out of there, and now Blaziken pays the price. And for the second time now, we do have a Regice, while Orange Juices managed to get rid of the tier 1 pads. So Sucre in quite a bit of trouble, even with the Pokemon that they have. Machisel just able to really draw their attention away, and right now Sucre's on the back end. They need to find ways to catch up here.
Yeah, I think teams are going to start to realize that the Phalanx Pokemon, you know, despite there being these theoretical counters, whether it's the extreme speed or Blaziken with the amount of healing, that the Pokemon is just so strong that it can overcome any of these differences within its kit. And, you know, Trevenant, another Pokemon.
Oh,
Zagreb proving why this Pokemon got nerfed in the last patch, but also proving
yeah,
that maybe the nerfs weren't enough as
they
he's able to
was
get two important KOs.
I mean, they added the cooldown timer, but Zugrug just needs to hit it one time, and that's all she wrote. Phalanx able to get rid of that Venu at ease. Bliss assist on top of the Phalanx right there. Lucario trying to E-speed as an escape tool. You could see Crustle, I'm trying to think Crustle's really trying to be there with the Instigate and going through on the Gardevoir, but there's just no follow-up for the Crustle, while Machizzle is just stalling the other three from Sucre. Machizzle just taking all the hits, but not getting KO'd, even with the Burnout and Solar Beam. Machizzle able to take so much punishment, just emptying the gas tanks from Sucre there. And you can see that OJ is able to keep themselves topped up. The sustain that OJ has is just unbelievable. I really thought for sure there that Machizzle was gone, but here he is back, almost full health, at it again.
Yeah, you don't get to hear this very often, but that was truly a Regice diff right there, where Machizo got
Wow.
extra points of healing while that Verdant Anger was just about to hit him, and in his no retreat form with that extra damage reduction, able to stay alive, and would have been a really important KO for the side of Sucre if they were able to collect that experience on the side of Phalanx, but not able to quite secure that as the Orange Juicers now they have a final Reggie buff that they can use at the Ray fight.
Oh,
This time
Reggie
it's going to be a Reggie
Steel.
Steel as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. It's so rare to see a Reg Ice Beast so useful, and that actually saved the team. That now Lucario trying to do some scoring will be able to do 100 points there from the tier 1 Prad, breaking that and now giving that lead a lot less closer than what it is. But Clem now trying to run away from the situation while Orange Juices just positioning themselves around the Ray Pit, trying to defend themselves there. Now, the little bit of a choke point being put into contention here. Now, Crustle trying to go in and suss out everything, does get caught by Zagrug and Flareon trying to do damage there. Figo trying to run away. Phalanx trying to hold top there against the Lucario. A little bit of a standoff. Blaziken trying to go after Machizzle. Machizzle, though, it looks like no attacks actually harmed this Pokemon as he's still relatively full HP as we go back to a reset. Another mean look on Trevenant, but I don't know. They're just not able to find a gap here, and we are going to see what Sucre is going to be able to do to push themselves forward in this team fight.
Yeah, Sucre is the team that needs to make something happen, but it's just so tough into Pokemon like Phalanx, and when you have a Blissey who's got these special attack specs locked and loaded, able to provide so much sustain. There's only about a minute left. Sucre knows that they're behind by somewhere relative close to 100 points. Zagrug is going to start to take a lot of damage.
Machizzle!
Tree is so good here.
Dang, Bliss assist right there as well. Lucario manages escaping, but Venusaur was very much a huge playmaker for Sucre, and losing that right now in the last 40 seconds and less of the game, this may be detrimental. The only thing that Sucre can potentially do here is do a sneaky score of sorts, but you can see that Orange Juices have picked word of that. They're holding the line. Trevenant holding the tier 2 pad. Flareon's on the tier 1 pad on the bottom, and this is a great defensive play from Orange Juices. No Ray needed, and you can see Machizzle just holding the fort from the Ray as well. So Orange Juice is able to just cover all weaknesses being taken here. Now you can see that Lucario tried for a sneaky score, not able to do so, but with a few seconds left, there may be a 52! Oh no! This may be Crustle's time to shine. Doug not able to secure enough. It may be really close here, India.
Yeah, I think Roland did get a 62 on the other side around the same time to match that cap. So the Orange Juicers should be up by just a little bit here.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were able to match that cap. Good on Sucre to do that split cap, but about 20 points is really tough for a single Pokemon to hold it down. But yeah, such a close end game. As I know, we just had the folks over from Unite Battle Hub tune in as well into game number 3, where we see Orange Juicers pull out just a nail biter of a game 3 here, off the back of some really, really impressive Phalanx gameplay on Machizzle.
Yeah, that's unbelievable how close that was. And geez, great play from both teams there, just really showcasing their defensive and offensive capabilities. And I think just for the entirety of that 2-minute match, Orange Juices, knowing how far ahead they were, was just defending themselves really, really well. And they were able to just narrowly hold off, as Roland able to take that 62 dunk off in the final seconds, as Crossell was able to do his 52. So they just cancelled each other out, and this was a good win for OJ as they stay in the upper bracket. Now, as we move forward, thank you for the raid from Unite